And it should be recording. Right then, so this is our using Teams in the classroom. This one is going to be all about how we can use Teams more effectively for things such as meetings, i.e. live lessons, but also how we can distribute work to children and get work back in and leave comments on it and so on. So it's a really practical one about classroom use of Teams. Now, what I'm going to do very quickly at the beginning is go through something about the live lessons and a few really useful hints and tips. First of all, going to quickly run through the buttons here. Now on your screens, these will probably appear, let me just admit someone else, on these ones, on your screens, these buttons will probably appear in the lower middle of the screen, okay, whenever you move your mouse or click. Now you already know about the muting and the video on off. This one is your screen sharing. When you screen share, it will give you the opportunity to share any screen you're using. So I'm on two desktop screens at the moment. I'm sharing one and not the other, but equally well you can share individual windows. Personally, when I'm sharing screen, I like to share the actual desktop because then I'm absolutely sure that everyone's seeing the same thing I'm seeing. And when you do share your screen like that, you will see a red rectangle around the edge of it to remind you that everyone can see what's on your screen. Okay, coming over here, the raise hand was brought in about 6 months ago at the request of teachers, and on that line, Microsoft are actually adding new features every month. Since teachers have started using this in a big way, Microsoft being getting flooded with requests for things which are completely obvious to teachers, but wouldn't necessarily occur to a tech company in education. So there are new features coming all the time. The raise your hand, if you do have this one, in a live lesson, I would suggest with the children, you say that we will pause after a certain time for questions and answers. But if there is something important or somebody's noticed a problem or whatever, raise your hand is a really useful one. The children tap that and you will see it come up in the show participants to say whether or not to say whose hand is raised, so you can stop if you need to. Chat conversation and conversation part here is brilliant. It allows you to, during the meeting, it allows you to pop questions and so on in. And during our meeting today, if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them in here. And at the end of a session, we'll be able to address those. One thing I would say, whenever you're using a chat function within Microsoft Teams, always press on the A button there, the format button. That's really good for two reasons. Number one, it opens up this little extra bit here, which gives you more kind of word processing powers over it and adds some more options on here over things you can put into a chat. But also it prevents you from accidentally sending a chat halfway through, because if you don't put it into the formatting mode, the editing mode here, if you press enter, it will send a message straight away. And I've done it on numerous occasions. I've sent a message halfway through because I've just wanted to do another paragraph. So great feature here. Again, this can be abused by children. So probably the most important thing we can do when we're doing online lessons, or when we're doing live lessons rather, is you need to get a really strong etiquette policy in place straight away. Really firm understanding from the children that this is exactly the same as our classroom in school. The same behaviour is expected of all children. And what you'll find there is that children, to begin with, certainly there will be a novelty factor, and some of them might want to be putting lol and other things in there. But if you get that message home right from the beginning, get it signed off by parents and children, you could even put it as a Microsoft form for them to put their names to. But it's really important because they need to understand that. And once they do get their heads around it, they're pretty good, because it's quite tricky when you're running a lesson and you've got things popping up all the time. Along those lines, I would also recommend you have two adults ideally on live lessons for various reasons. Number one, it's great if you can have one person presenting and one person monitoring the conversation or monitoring the chat, because it's very difficult to present and try and do that at the same time. I have tried it numerous times and failed miserably every time. I always lose my thread. So that's one really good feature of it, but also from a safeguarding point of view and from just a comfort point of view. I know when I'm delivering a new webinar, which I haven't done before, even though I'm delivering to professionals, I still like to have one of my colleagues there as well as part of the meeting, just in case something goes wrong, so that they're able to feedback from the viewer's side. And equally well in a presenting side, if you're a staff member, it's nice to know you've got another adult there for safeguarding reasons too. Should there be anything said or done which is inappropriate or which causes you concern, it's great if you know you've got another member of staff there backing you up. Over here we have the show participants. If you click on this one, you'll find that you can see a list of whoever's actually in the meeting. This is great. It's kind of almost like an attendance, like a calendar for you. Oops, wrong one there. Quit that one. Almost like a calendar for you. You can see, or a roll call, you can see who's there and you can see who's not there, which obviously allows you to contact people should you need to find out what's going on. Interestingly enough, actually, I think I will have to edit this video afterwards now to take out that little clip we put in. So that's one of the dangers of sharing your screen. So as I was saying, it's this part here is great because if children aren't turning up, you can do a roll call every day. You can see who's there, and at a glance, it will allow you to see which children need to be contacted if perhaps they're not joining in. Also on here, another nice feature. At the moment, all of you have your microphones muted as requested, but if you didn't have them muted, you would see an option here, or you would set as a presenter be able to mute people's microphones. And this is very useful when you're presenting to a class, because background noise can be a huge distraction, and also about privacy in the homes of the children. There might be perhaps a parent telling off another child, which gets picked up by the microphone, which could be quite embarrassing for them. So it's always worth having those microphones turned off. And if you have children learning in the same room, you can get feedback off speakers and things. So that's just a few sort of pointers, really. I'll just quickly say them again. Get a really strong acceptable usage or etiquette policy out there for the children, explaining or basically laying out what behaviour is expected. Don't let children post in the conversation within the meeting unless the teacher has asked them to. So for instance, post questions which we'll address in 10 minutes, or if you have a problem, post, but otherwise they stay off it. Otherwise it can become a big distraction for everybody. Have 2 adults in there ideally. And we're going to come on to recording now, which is quite a thorny one because we've had a few issues with this, with the way Microsoft's changed it. But the recording section is in this more actions. Anytime you can't see something you're looking for in Microsoft Teams, press on the 3 dots here for more actions, and you'll get a list of other stuff which they can't fit on because it would just be too cluttered with too many buttons on there. Okay, the useful ones to know about in here. Full screen and focus. If somebody's sharing their screen with you, you can use the focus to draw everything a bit closer to the screen and make everything a bit bigger, particularly useful if you're on a small screen. Full screen again just gives you an extra little bit of space, makes everything that little bit bigger. If you're presenting from home or somewhere where you'd like privacy, this applied background effect is great. It effectively works a bit like a green screen. So you can see down here, my image got a blurred background. If I were to go on there and turn that one off, you'll now see my messy spare room where we're storing loads of rubbish at the moment, but also I can switch to any of the backgrounds they've already put in there. And you can also download images to your own computer and then use them in here as well. So for instance, I could go into Del Boy's flat or Grange Hill in the 1970s, perhaps the Batcave, all sorts of different places, hang out outside the Kremlin maybe, all sorts of different places you can add in there. But the key to that is it gives you that privacy if you're delivering lessons from home. This is only available at the moment in the desktop app, so you'd need to download Teams to your computer rather than using it in a web browser. Also, this is actually, from a teaching point of view, is quite a nice hook for the children. If you're doing a live lesson, you could actually have some pictures relating to what you're talking about and change it as you go, which, as I said, is a nice thing to kind of keep the children's attention because they're going to wonder what picture's coming up next. So all sorts of nice little features in there. Also in the dots here, we've got the recording one. Now, the recording one I mentioned before because this has been quite a thorny issue, as I was saying. Recently, Microsoft changed it. So when you record a meeting in Teams, which I've always recommended in the past, it would record into Microsoft Stream, which is another app as part of your Microsoft Office suite, and you could choose to share it after that. What happened recently is they've changed it now, so it puts a link to the video straight after the meeting in the conversation, which means everybody can access that video for 20 days. Now, there's lots of good reasons for recording. For instance, if children miss it, or you might have homes where people have only got limited devices, so they'd like to watch the lesson a bit later on because they're sharing of a device. Having the recording is really useful. And from a safeguarding point of view, should any allegations be made that something was said or shown during a meeting, it gives you evidence. Or should you see or hear anything which concerns you in the background, again, it gives you evidence. But of course, the problem with that is if it's going to come up in a link straight afterwards for everybody to access for 20 days, that's going to be something you don't want there. But we have just, as a company, just changed our policy on this today to make up for it. And I'm going to be sharing a document shortly which will explain how you can actually remove access to that for the children. So you can still carry on recording it, but you'll need to follow these steps afterwards to ensure that children can't enter the meeting or enter the recording afterwards. With regard to meetings, I'm just going to hop over to one of my test accounts now just to show you again a bit more about meetings. So if I hop over to the calendar here, Now, to set up meetings or to schedule meetings with your class, all you need to do is go straight to your calendar, which is exactly the same calendar which you have on your email account, on your school Outlook account. To schedule meetings, you can go up to new meeting, or if you want to, you can actually just click somewhere on the calendar for the right date and time you want. So I'll put one here for 4:30, and it will automatically fill in the date and time for you. You've got the title in there. I don't know, let's just call it CPD for now. If you want to, you can add individual attendees by starting to type in their name, and you'll see it will find it in your address book. Your address book will all be set up already as part of a setup under the DFE program. All the information has been pulled from your own school systems in order to populate teams with all the people who are in it. But what you may want to do, obviously, is share things with your whole class. So if we go to channel here, which we'll be looking at shortly, I could go, for instance, to class 27, general channel, and that will now share an invitation to the meeting with the entire class. If I want to put any notes about what the lesson's going to be about, I could put it in here, and then I just press send. Now, it's worth noting that by default, at the request of the DFE and Microsoft, most of the schools will have had, or all of the schools will have had, the calendar, the chat, the calls and the email functions turned off for children, and this is done for safeguarding reasons. If calendar's on, children could be making their own private meetings between themselves, and obviously there'll be no adults there to supervise, and that's a safeguarding worry, as the same with chats and calls and so on. So what will happen with the children, when you set meetings in there, it will actually, let me just pop over to Al's account. Al's one of our students here. What will happen is they will go to their posts area, and there you can see Al's got the invitation. He doesn't need calendar to get into the meeting. While I'm on the subject of the posts area, this will effectively become the one-stop shop for your students or your pupils. When they log in, they just go to the posts area, and that's where they'll see everything they need, whether it's work that's been set for them, announcements from you, or whether it's a live lesson you've scheduled. Again, coming back to etiquette policy, I would come down really strong on this and just say to the children, the post area is not a chat area. It is strictly for teachers to post things for children, and they are not allowed to reply to comments or conversations unless you specifically ask them to. Because again, it's a novelty with the children, and you will get children doing it, and you get these massive strings of conversation come up on here, which can be quite annoying when they're trying to find the things they're looking for. Now, for the children to join the meeting, they can just click on that link at the right date and time, and just like they would see in calendar, they can click join and they're in. Okay, now from a teacher's side of it, if I just come in, as soon as we set the meeting, it's worth doing this. Now, it may be that your school's already been set up this way, but if it hasn't, as soon as you set the meeting, go into edit, go into meeting options, and immediately, well, I say immediately, whenever the internet catches up. Probably found my son's on Fortnite or Rocket League at the moment. So immediately it says who can bypass the lobby. Because at the moment it's on people in my organisation and guests, that means anybody, as soon as they join the meeting, will be straight in. And again, that gives you the danger of children entering the meeting before you're there or after you're there. So if you change that to only me, what will happen now is when they try to join the meeting, they'll be put into the lobby and you can let them in. And after the meeting's finished, they can't re-enter it. So it gives you that safety. Also, who can present? If you change that to only me, that means no children can try and share their screen or take over the meeting while you're in it. Okay, you may find when you go in there, those settings are already in place. As teams are settling in, all sorts of different settings are coming in, all different as real life situations and scenarios present themselves. So I'll save that now, and that now gives me that peace of mind that a meeting is safe and that nobody can enter it without me allowing them to do it. Okay, so I can close that now. And back into my team here, so that meeting's all set. Now, as I was just saying about the recording part, I'm going to be sharing a document with you at the end of this. It is just here, and this tells you how, after you finish recording your meeting, you will find it. It will tell you where to find the meeting, how to get to it, and how to actually manage the access and stop sharing. And that means that the children, if you don't want them to, won't be able to see that meeting. Of course, if you want children to be able to see it afterwards, no problem at all. You can leave it on there if they need it for that. Okay, so this is a link which I'll share in our chat. In fact, I'll put it in now so that we know it's there. So let me just get back into there. Now, to put things into a meeting in chat, if you want to share websites and things with children, you can just click on the address up here, copy that address back into your meeting, into your chat, paste it in there and send. Okay, so that's now in there. I've already set that up so anybody can access it. So after the meeting, you can go into your calendars, into the chat for this meeting, and you'll be able to access that document I've just shown you for blocking access to videos, which, like I said, is a safeguard and worry if you're not doing that, if anything happens which you don't want the children to be seeing. So I think that has covered the part about live lessons and meetings. Also, while we're on the topic of sharing stuff, I'm going to share 2 more links in there as well. One which is for our remote learning videos channel. It's got lots of stuff about Microsoft Teams and about Google G Suite for Google, but of course you don't need the G Suite stuff, but there's lots of handy stuff in there. So I'm going to share that one as well. So once again, into my meeting, into the conversation, and you can just paste links right in there. Okay, and I'm going to share a final one, which is for our DFE learning channel. And this one is the one where you have videos of the session I've done today and the session I do about communication and collaboration, although the session about Teams in the Classroom will be replaced with the one I'm doing at the moment shortly. Okay, so again, copy that over into the meeting and paste. Okay, and after the meeting's finished, if you want to get back into that, all you need to do is go to your calendar like this, click on your meeting, and you should actually be able to see it from there. If you go to the chat with participants, there you are, and you can see the link. So that's how you'll get to it after the meeting's finished, should you want to access those videos. Right, so that's the first bit done about live lessons. What we're going to do now is we're going to switch over to my test accounts, and the test accounts are 2 of them. I've got one where you're going to see it from a teacher's side and one where you will see it from the pupil side, as I just showed you with the meetings. So first thing to see is your teams. So in the team section, this will show you any teams of which you are a member. Now, the teams in here, if you're a primary school teacher, you will most likely be a member of your staff team and your class team, and that's it. It may be if you're in a school which has got multiple classes across a year group, your school requested that all teachers in one year group have access to each other's classes, or it may be that if you're a member of SLT, when the setup meeting was done, you may have requested to be made a member of every class in the school, so you can dip in and dip out of them and do class assemblies and so on. But and if you're a secondary school teacher, of course, you'll be a member of your staff team and numerous class teams for the different year groups you're teaching. But the standard for a primary school would be 2 teams to begin with for a classroom teacher. So we're going to go to class 28 today, which is a brand new one I've set up, so it'll be fresh like your ones are. Now, I mentioned before when we were setting up the meeting about using the general channel to send out the meeting as a way of sending out the meeting to all the children in the class. Now, the way Teams works is you have a class and the general channel, and then more channels can be added, although you may need to ask for admin access to do that. A quick thing about Teams and making it useful, the more teams and channels you put in, the more cluttered it becomes and the more unwieldy it becomes. Teams works best when you keep it really simple. So most schools have asked to have privileges locked down about team and channel creation. Another quick thing here as well about personalizing your team, being that it's a virtual learning space, the virtual classroom, it's nice to give the children some ownership. So up here, one of the first things you might want to do is actually change the picture on there to whatever's on your door of your classroom. So to do that, just click on the little editing pen there on where it says C2 or whatever it says on your class. And then down here, we can have a look, and Microsoft's got a bank of pictures, but you're going to want your own one. So if you go to upload, you can download a picture to your computer and upload it straight into here. I'll just choose a random one for now, and I'll click update, and you'll see now that will change our class logo, which is nice for the children. It makes it seem a bit more like their space. Now, over time, as I said, you may decide that you want to add some more channels, like for instance, if you have focus groups, particularly if you're upper key stage 2, you'll know that sometimes the children feel conscious about being singled out for different work. Now, in a normal classroom, when you've got 30 children in there, it's not such a big deal because they might go out for a session. You don't really notice because it's all busy. But if you were to do a separate thing on here, it really does kind of stand out to the other children that these children are doing something different. So this is where channels are very nice. So you can actually add another channel. Now, channels by default will be standard, and most teachers will only be able to do a standard one. So that's, like I said, if your school decides they want to allow all teachers to be able to create private channels, you will need to talk to your on-site technician about that, and they can create a ticket for our DFE team to change your settings. So let's just call this one focus. Now, the reason you might want to do this is that if you want to send out an invitation to a live lesson for a group of 3 or 4 children, you can do it this way without alerting the whole class and without other children trying to join it as well. So if I go to a private channel, now I can go to next, and it's going to ask me who I want to add to that channel. And so unlike the other ones, let's just put in 3 children for now. So if I add those to that channel and click done, now you can see Focus has got a padlock on it. That means it's a private channel, and unless you're a member of that team, you won't even be able to see it in your list. Now, each channel, you might be wondering about how you're going to get the invitation out to them, but each channel actually has its own post section. So here we have posts and files class notebook. The general channel actually has more sections in it, but a focus one, it's got its own post section. So what I could do, I could go to the calendar and I could create a new meeting for class 28, and I could choose the focus channel instead of the general channel. And all the children in the focus group would get a post saying you've been invited to this meeting, but the children in the general channel would know nothing about it. You would also probably want to add your LSA to that one as well, as an invitee or as a member of the group, so that they can join in on it too. Or if they wanted to, you could leave and one of them could be running that, or 2 TAs could run it. It's really up to you how you want to do that. But that's just a little bit on channels and how they work. It's also a channel's worth turning on the notifications for any channels of which you're a member. That way, if Teams is minimized, you will still get a pop-up down here in the bottom right-hand corner and a notification letting you know something's come in or something's going on. And similarly, if you're not a member of a channel, don't turn on the notifications, because it can get quite irritating with all the little notifications coming in all the time. So onto our general channel. Within here, as I said, we've got the posts area, files, notebook, and so on. Post area is like your online notice board. And as I mentioned before, be very strict with this one. Otherwise, it will fill up very, very quickly with children having little conversations and posting one-word things and maybe sticking GIFs and stickers on there and stuff. So get the ground rules down. Only teachers post on here. Children only reply to posts if they are requested to. So to put a post on here, new conversation. Again, as I mentioned before, anything to do with chat and Teams, always get into the habit of clicking on the format button. Straight away, we've got loads more options of what we can do. We've also got a subject title now to make it stand out more. If it's a really big one, if it's a really important one, you can put announcement in there, which will create a banner on top of it as well. Also in here, you've got the opportunity, if it's not something you want the children replying on, you can go to there and put you and moderators can reply only. And this means the children will not be allowed to post, will not be able to post things underneath it. So let's do our new classroom. Add a subheading, tell us. Just turned off the conversation, so I'll put that one back on. Tell us how you are. Underneath, I don't know, I'm a happy teacher. Okay, I post that now, and that's going to go out to everyone in the class because it's in the general channel. So I post that, and I'm going to pop over to Al's account now. And if I pop over to Al's account, I'm in class 27 at the moment, but I can see Al up here in activity has got something new has happened. Click on there, and that will tell him in his, that's telling me he's added to channel 28. But if I go back into his classroom again, into class 28, let me just come back out of there, class 28, you can see Al now has got that new post there. And Al could reply in here, I've had a great day. He can post that now into the conversation. The rest of the class will be able to see this. This is the point about these general channels. Everybody in the class can see what happens. Sometimes the children think that it's just them and they suddenly get a bit shocked. And there you can see Al's posted there. Now I'm on the teacher account. So that's the way the post section works. Strict rules on it. And that, remember, we had that opportunity there. If it's not something you want the children posting on, you can turn off those replies so only you and moderators can do it. Okay, so post section, great way to get information out of there. The file section over here is like a children's shared area on your school network, except stored in the cloud. I mean, I didn't really mention this at the beginning, but if you don't know much about Teams, Teams is a web app. So everything it does is stored in the cloud. And by that, I mean it's stored in a Microsoft data center and backed up across 1 or 2 other data centers. All those data centers are in the EU as well. Should you have any parents questioning you about GDPR and safety and so on. They are all within the European Union, and Microsoft Teams is fully GDPR compliant. And in terms of safety, they've got Microsoft industry level security, which is going to be an awful lot better than even our own school networks have got. So it's a very safe environment. So as I was saying, class materials here, this folder, in this area, this is basically somewhere where you can share resources with the class. You can put things here which you want the children to see. This is not somewhere where you'd put your planning or your class lists, assessment, IEPs, all of that stuff you could store in your staff team. But within this area, anything you want the children to see, you can put in here to give them access to. And to do that, you can just go to New here. I'm going to put a folder in. Let's call this one Week 1. Learning. It's going to be up to you how you break this up. In my teaching school, we're going by weeks with the actual starting date of the week because we think it's going to be easier for the children to navigate and easier to find everything rather than going down the subject headings level. So within there, if I wanted something, I could put in another folder if I wanted for, I don't know, day 1, day 2, if I had that. You can create documents right in here by just clicking on these. This will actually open up Word right here inside Teams without you having to leave, and it will save it automatically here. And also you can drag and drop files from a computer here, and that will instantly be accessible to the children. This area is an area where children can access, but they can't edit. So a little bit about how that works, and we will be seeing then shortly when how you can put things in here and share it with the children as well if you've got things you want them to read and so on. Next, over the Class Notebook. Now this will be your main teaching tool. Class Notebook is actually OneNote, but it's been tailored a little bit for education. And the way it works, it's a little bit like an online ring binder with card dividers and pages in between. And the first time you use it, you'll be asked to set it up. So I'm going to set up my OneNote notebook from a blank one. It's going to give you a quick bit about what's inside it. So if you imagine these are your card dividers, so your card divider is a collaboration space which allows you, all the children, to put stuff in there. This is great for activities such as a post-it note one. If you're doing a new topic, I know when I was a regular classroom teacher before I sort of specialised, when I was doing a new topic, I'd like to do a what do you know, what you already know, what do you want to know session. And what we do is we get post-it notes out to all the children. They'd stick down their ideas, they'd stick them up on the board, and we'd use that for our child-directed learning. So this is the sort of place where that's great. You can create a page in there and the children can all brainstorm and put their ideas on there together. Content library isn't one, to be honest, that I tend to use much anymore, because just recently, a couple of months ago, teacher only section came up once again at the request of teachers. Now, content library, you can stick stuff in there which you want to publish to children. The children will be able to view it, but they won't be able to edit it. Teacher only section is just the same as that, except the children can't do it. Now, if I'm a teacher preparing lessons beforehand, I don't really want the children nosing around and having a look at it. So that's why nowadays I use the teacher only section for all my stuff, and I don't really use the content library anymore at all. So teacher only section, you can prepare your lessons in there, then when they're ready, you can distribute them to the children. A little bit like sending out doing a virtual photocopy of it and sending out a virtual photocopy to all the children's virtual books. Finally, with student notebooks, in the staff notebook, in the teacher notebook, you will be able to have access to all the children's books. This is like that virtual box of books which you stick in a car on a Friday night, take home, mean to work, and come in Monday morning feeling thoroughly annoyed it's still in your boot. At least I used to anyway when I was a classroom teacher. So that is where you'll have access to all their books, and you can see everything they've done. The children they'll be able to see the collaboration space, the content library, and their own notebook. So once you've got that sorted, you press on next. This is where you get to set up those different sections within your children's books. So if you like, these are virtual exercise books. Now, you can add more sections on here. You can take them away. What we're doing in my teaching school, what I would do here, I might do week 1 and put on the date for that one. And that's the one section I'm going to put in for now, and I'll show you shortly how you can add more sections every week. So I'll create that now, and what's happening is in the background, that's now creating that section for the notebooks of every child in the class. So that's what they're going to see when they open their notebook. They'll see collaboration space, they'll see content library, and they'll see week 1, and that's it. And as time goes on, of course, I'll be able to add a new week every week to it. Another thing worth noting here, if you're going to go down this route, it's really a good idea to set up exactly the same file structure in your teacher only area, because it makes things an awful lot less confusing. So here, for instance, is my teacher one. If I go into Adele's one here, you can see now she's got week 1, Al, Alex, Ashley, they've all got exactly the same format. Now, what I might want to do for me is just the same thing in my teacher area now, just because it makes life much easier. So add a new section in here. I click inside anywhere in the section, and I can either right click and add a section, or down at the bottom of the page here I can go to new section. Okay, either's just fine. So I'll call this just the same thing, week 1, 180121. And now my file structure matches that of the children, much easier for organizing. Inside this week now I've got my pages. So here's our card divider, here's our pages in between. Once again, to add more pages, you can either right click and put a new page, or you can go to the bottom of the screen and new page. To give these pages titles, you just click up here on the line at the top. Whenever you click on there, it will expand across to your left to give you more space to work. So let's call this one Monday Maths. The next page might be Monday English. And again, it's just a simple file structure. And when you're doing that remote learning as we are at the moment, I think anything we can do to simplify things for ourselves and for the children will make lives a lot easier. And as we go down, of course, Monday topic, Tuesday English, Tuesday maths, it just makes life easier. And then the following week, we'll put in another one, add a section, week 2, and that's going to be 250121. Oops, forgot my dot there. And then similarly, I said what I was going to show you before was for the children. So once you've done that, I'll need to do the same for the children now. If I go to my class notebook here and to manage notebooks, if you're on a smaller screen, you may see some dots here. But if you remember, I said before, if ever you can't see what you're looking for in Teams, press on the 3 dots and you'll find it there. So manage notebooks. This is where I manage my children's notebooks now, and I can add a new section here and do just the same thing. And it's 250121, and that's going to add a new section. Also within here, if you ever want to, you can actually lock the collaboration space as well. So if you've got all the answers and you want the children to stop adding stuff, you can click that there to lock the collaboration space and then unlock it again whenever you're ready. Okay, so I'll just save that one now, and that's going to do just what happened before when that's set up. If I close that now and go into any of the children's notebooks, I'll just press on these 3 little kind of box files here, and you go into Adele's one, and now you can see she's got a new section and they're ready to use for next week. Okay, so that's how we go on about setting up different sections in our notebooks and adding pages to it. Now, we haven't actually looked at what goes on these pages yet, because Microsoft OneNote, or Class Notebook as it's called here, works very much like the interactive software you use on your interactive boards. So I'll press on there again. It's not like a word processor. The page is an infinite page, meaning that it will just grow and grow and grow. It's not like using PowerPoint or slides. It's just one page, and you can make that page as long and as wide as you want. Everything you add something new at the bottom, the page will just expand to encompass that. So the way it works, you can click anywhere on the screen, will bring up a text box. If you put any text in there, just as you're used to doing on Word or anything, you can highlight that text, and that little box you're familiar with will come up for changing texts and font sizes and all that sort of thing. The boxes can, as you can see here, be stretched out as well. Also, if you're using a whiteboard to get your lessons ready, you can actually draw as well. So if you go onto your pens here, if you've got a touch screen, you can draw away to your heart's content. I will just switch back to text again now. But some of the really nice features on here, which I think are great, especially for primary school, if you go to insert, you can put files which sit right on the screen. So you can either have them sitting on the screen just as if they were arriving in an email, or if they were in a folder. So if you had a help file you wanted the children to use, it would be sat there on the screen as a little icon. They could click on it and open it up. Or you can insert files as a printout, and that will effectively stick it to the page as if you were gluing something into a book in school. It's a really useful feature, and when children hand in their work, this is something they can use as well. So you could have children either typing on the screen, or if they're using a tablet or a phone, or their mum and dad have got a phone or the webcam on their laptop, they can actually do the work on paper and then press insert file printout, hold up their work to the camera, and then just insert it directly from the camera. And what that will allow them to do is, well, actually it will come from a picture in a moment, I'll show you. And what that will allow them to do is basically put their work straight on there. So rather than having to use a computer or type, they can give you written work or picture work and so on. So that would be where you'd put on your work. If you had a worksheet or something which you wanted to put on there for the children, they could go from camera. Or equally well, if you'd done some written work you wanted to show on there as a piece, you could do from camera, and it will effectively stick it to the page as if it's been glued on there. You can also insert pictures from files and online, and once they're on the page, you can resize them, crop them, and so on. Link is great for putting in web links. So for instance, if I wanted click here, click here for help. If I wanted to turn that into a link to take them to any of these pages I've got open up here, let's just copy that one for now. I copy the web address. I can highlight what I've got there, click on link, and paste the address into there, insert, and that's now a live web link. So if a children click on that, it will take them to the page I want them to see. Also, another lovely feature, which is brilliant in primary school especially, is the audio. When you're setting work, you may have children who are reluctant readers. Click anywhere on the screen to start up a new box. Press on, just do that, press on audio, and that is now recording directly from my microphone. So if you've got children who are reluctant readers or struggle, you can see here it's already going. I press stop. That's now going to turn to an MP3 file which will sit on the page. So if you want children to be able to hear your voice, or children who learn better through audio learning, you can record sound files and sit right down the page. You know, click here to hear what you need to do today. Children click on that and they will hear your voice telling them what to do. Really, really nice feature. Equally well, when children hand in their work, you might want to have audio work from them. They could actually record their voice if you wanted to have spoken work from them. And also, if you wanted to give verbal feedback for children on their work, you could do that too. So there's a lot of nice features in it. It will take a lot of exploring, and over time you may even decide to switch over to using this instead of your smartboard software. Other advantages of that are the fact that you don't need to install any software on your computers. You'd have it at home, and anything you do on here would be accessible whether you're in home or school. You wouldn't need any remote access or anything like that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hop over to our other classroom, to one of our other test accounts I've set up. I'm going to do Rowling class because I've already got some work in there to save time. So we're going to see now about distributing work to the class. Now you can do this through Class Notebook by distributing pages. Personally, I would urge you to go down the assignments route I'm going to show you now. Now the assignments route, the reason I recommend this is, well, the reasons it will automatically create a post and a link to the work for the children to save you having to do it. And it will also create a column in the grade sheet here. And the grade sheet here will tell you whether or not they've done the work, and it will also record any marks you've done, and it will allow you to access their work directly from there without having to go through Class Notebook and find the right page. So there's a lot of advantages to using assignments. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to create an assignment. And I'm going to put in, for this one, I'm going to use something actually from the files area. I did mention before that I've stored some stuff in there, and I've got something maybe which I want the children to read in preparation for a lesson. You might do this a live lesson, for instance, get the children to read a piece of work beforehand, ready to talk about it and discuss it in your live lesson. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add my resource first of all. So go to here to add resources. It's going to ask me where I want to get the resource from. Now I'm not using Class Notebook for this one because I put it in the files area, so I'm getting it from my teams, and it's coming from Rowling class. It's in my class materials in English, and there it is, the magic box. I'll attach that. And what that will do, when the children get their assignment, they'll be able to click on this and it will take them straight to the document which I've already stored in the files area which I want them to see. So I'll click here now, and let's do this poetry activity. I can put my instructions here. Read the poem and prepare your ideas for our live lesson. Right, other bits and pieces on here which are useful noting. If you do want to put one which has a score on, you can put whatever score it's out of here, which in the grades bit allows you to actually fill in the scores, which is quite handy. You can add a rubric if you want to. This is a very American thing. I didn't even know what rubrics were, to be honest, until I saw this. But basically, it's a heavily broken down success criteria and learning intention. Got your learning intention. If they do all four, it's excellent. If it's only this one, poor. If they do these two, it's fair, and so on. So there's no reason you have to use that, but if learning intentions and success criteria are really your thing, they are there. Next, who we're distributing it to, I'm going to assign it to Rowling class and to all the students. If you want to, you can go with individuals in there, but I would urge you to begin with, whilst you're getting confident with teams, just keep it really simple to begin with. Just go with the whole class to begin with until everyone's sort of comfortable with it, because it does take a bit of getting used to it and there will be teething problems. You can say when it's due by. Well, let's say we're going to do a live lesson on Monday at 10 o'clock. So I want them to do it by Monday, and time due by, let's say, 9 o'clock. Oops, that didn't go in very well. Okay, so everything's ready to go. I've got the resource there, I've got my title, I've got my instructions, I've said who it's going to, date and time I want it done by. I can assign that work now. If I hop over to a grade section now, you will see it's automatically created a column for me with all the students in the class and with the name of the activity and the date it's due by. So I'm going to hop back into my other account now. So here I am in Al's account. Now Al hasn't turned on his notifications yet, so I'm going to turn those on for him. Otherwise he'd have been told about that one. And let me just, oh, actually, he has my mistake. If you look up here in activities, he's got his 1 there in the red circle telling me he's got an assignment in his Rowling class. So he can now go to view assignment. This is one of the really nice bits of using Class Notebook. If I go over to grades now, I can now see that Al has viewed his assignment. So if you're getting children who aren't even opening it and they're saying they have, you will be able to see whether they've opened it or not. So I'll pop back into Al's side again now. Al's going to open up the magic box. Not literally, but he's going to open up the document. So he can read through this now, which I've got made for him. Another lovely feature of Teams is that it's digital. You don't have to think about ink and paper. Now, I've got children in my class who might respond better to visual and audio stimulus. So if I click on here, I put a link in here already to Kit Wright reading his own poem. Take it away, Kit. Well done. So I'll close that one now. So Al's either read the poem or he's actually listened to Kit reading it. He's finished his stuff, he's ready, he's got all his ideas, he's going to close that up, and now he can click Handin. You'll get a little visual up here. They've got loads of different ones of rainbow unicorns and disco balls and treasure chests and octopus tentacles, all sorts of weird stuff, but the children will love it. So Al's finished. I can go back into my teacher account now, into my grades, and it will tell me now he's handed in the work. Sometimes it says turned in as well, but there you are. Al's handed in the work. So what I can do now, click on those 3 dots, open student work, and I can leave a bit of feedback. Well done, Al. Can't wait to hear your ideas. And this is the beauty of it. I press return now. I did that straight from the grade section. I didn't have to go anywhere else. Back into Al's side now. He's got a notification pops up. Click on his activity again there. And there you are. Al can see my feedback. So you've got real life, real time connection between teachers and children, which, as we all know, children really value being appreciated, being listened to, and having feedback on things. So that was a very quick look at how we can share something which is from our files area. Next, we're going to look at sharing a page from our class notebook and basically doing a virtual copy in every children's notebook, which is a very useful one. So I'm going to go to Create again. I'm going to go to Assignments again. And if I come down here into the resources, this time I'm going to add something from my class notebook. So class notebook, it's going to ask me which one of my notebooks I want. Actually, I'm in Rowling already, so it's going to ask me which section of my notebook I want. I put it in the teachers only. To there, I've got it in there at the moment, so I'm going to go all about adverbs, which is a very boring genetic worksheet I put in, or generic rather, but of course you can do any ones you like, which will be a lot more interesting. I'll press attach, and that's getting that ready now to distribute to the children's notebook. It's going to ask me where I want that to go in my children's notebooks. Now I've got week 1 on it at the moment. I should have really named that with the same date. Click on done. So that what the computer knows now is what document's going to go out and where it's going to stick it in the children's books. So on here, let's do Monday English. Instructions, do the worksheet and so on, whatever else you want to put in there. If it's got points, you can put those in. Put 10 points. Rowling class, all students, when I want it done by, let's say we want it done by Monday by, let's say 3 o'clock. Okay, I'll assign that. Once again, if I go into grades, you'll see it's created another column now for that. I will do as soon as it's actually generated it. It's still generating. This one will take a bit longer to generate because it's got to do all that virtual cutting and pasting and sticking. Let's see if it's come up here. There we are. So now we've got our poet. Now we've got our Monday English. Another nice thing about this is you can actually export it as an Excel file. So if you want to do any assessment of your remote learning over a week or 2, you can export it. You've got all that stuff there. And once the numbers are in there, you can use them in any way you like. So back over to Al's account. Al now has got his new assignment. It's popped up. You can see he's got his activity here. He can view assignment. Once again, if I were to go into my teacher's side, I would see that he'd viewed it. Al can actually open the work now. This will automatically open up his class notebook to the correct page. So he doesn't need to go looking for it or jumping around. It just makes his life much easier. Here we got it. Highlight the adverbs in green and the verbs they describe in yellow. If Al's not too sure about adverbs, he's forgotten, he can click on here because I put a link in for him to take him to BBC Bite-Size Adverbs page. This is a really nice feature with links because it just gives children a bit more independence in their learning. This is Al's own copy of this as well. No one else's work will be affected. So Al can now go into his drawer, get out his highlighter. I think it was green for adverbs and yellow for the verbs they're describing, and he can work his way through there quite patiently. And he can keep going until he's finished. And at the bottom here, if he's got a touch screen, he could actually write on there, but if not, he could go to his back to text, click in there, and he could start typing. Okay, once Al's finished his work, you can see the little circle there is turning as it automatically backs itself up. There's no saving in Teams either. Everything is cloud synced, so every couple of seconds it's backing itself up. Press on close, it's going to ask them to hand it in. Let's see if we get a different visual. Oh, we've got the rocket this time. There you go, the rocket goes off, leaving a trail of stars and things behind it. Back over to the teacher side, into grades. And here we go. Al has handed in his Monday English. I can go here to open student work. This will take me straight to his page in my notebook. Now, a nice thing on here is, as well as being able to give feedback in this little box and putting points in, let's say Al did really well and got 10 out of 10. I can put the points in there. I might want to also put a sticker on there if I want to, so I can insert a sticker. You can personalize the stickers. Let's do well done, Al. Bit boring, but there you go. Stick done on there. And that's now going to put that sticker on his work for him. I could also, if I wanted to, if there are any mistakes and so on there, let's move that over there. I could use the draw and use the pen or use a highlighter to circle anything or bring his attention to it. And in the feedback here, I might want to put great work, Al. Oops. Please open your page to see my feedback. Okay, and as I said, you could also, if you wanted to, I said not very good from a teacher there, if you wanted to, you could also go onto here, let me put it back onto pen, onto writing again, and you could insert an audio file if you wanted to give audio feedback or verbal feedback. Okay, I return Al's work to him. Back into Al's account now, he'll have a notification comes up, he clicks on there, hops over to his work, and he can see my stuff there. Great work, Al, please open to see my feedbacks. Al's going to open up his work. He will see the sticker on the screen for him already. There you go, and he can see whatever I've circled I'd like him to have another look at. So real-time attention, real-time marking, real-time feedback, which I think is quite a wonderful thing, especially for those children at home who desperately need that connection and are often desperately missing their teachers and so on. So I click on close there. You can see now it's already got Al's mark in there for me, so I'm not having to transpose or type something in somewhere else. It's all done for me from one place. From a children's point of view, we need to make sure as well, just be really sure they know that that post area is their one-stop shop. That's where they'll find everything they need to know is in their posts area. If we go back to our team here, into Rowling class, into posts, you can see everything's coming up right there. That's all they need to know really. That and the activity to get to stuff when new stuff comes in. Okay, I'm going to do a final one now. There's an awful lot more I could be covering, but I appreciate we're pressed for time. It's been a very long couple of weeks and you lot are probably praying for the end of this so you can go and have a nice cup of tea or coffee or something stronger. So what I'll do, quick one now, we're going to look at using, actually one I could say, collaboration space. If you wanted to use this, if you had something that you wanted all the children to join in and put their ideas on like this, I've got one here about sharing ideas about our new topic. All you'd need to do is create a post, into here, create a post, and say to the children, please go to the collaboration space in your class notebooks, go to the page, what was it, Marvelous Mayans, what would you like to know, and add your ideas with your initials. Post that and the children will be able to open up their own notebooks to go to those places. So I wanted to do a last one on assignments. So because another great feature of Teams, which is a really nice time-saving one for you lot especially, is the fact you can create Microsoft Forms in here, which can be self-marking quizzes. And as everybody knows, self-marking is the best thing in the world. So if I go to create quiz, this is the only time you'll actually be taken out of Microsoft Teams to do something. However, this is completely linked up, so anything you do in Forms here will become accessible straight away through your team. Go to new quiz. As you see here now, it's opened up a new page opening up Microsoft Forms, but as I said, it's on the same account as Teams, so it'll still be accessible. Let's call this I'm just going to call it 1-on-1 so it stands out from the others, but you can give any name you like, enter a description. So this is our quiz of our learning, try your hardest, tick the correct answers, all that kind of thing. And then you go to add new to add questions. The only two bits you really need to worry about here are choice and text. Text answers you will need to mark yourself, but of course it does give it an awful lot more flexibility, and those text answers can be as long as you like. Okay, I'm going to choose choice though because I'm lazy and I want it to be self-marking. Whenever you do this, you get one question and a choice of two options. You can add as many choice of answers as you want, and if you've got a question which has got more than one correct answer, you can click here to multiple answers and they turn to check boxes so you can tick the correct ones. But I'll just turn that off. So I'm going to put in the question, what shape were Mayan temples? I'll put down my choice of answers here, cube, pyramid, or sphere, which would be quite impressive, a spherical temple. And now I can also do the magic. I'll put the tick on the correct answer. If I wanted to, I could put a comment there as well saying well done and say how many points that answer's worth. So that's one question done. I'll add one more just to go through it again. Choice, what was the staple food of the Mayans? Could even try spelling it properly and set a good example for children. Add another option. Let's have corn, potatoes, or rice. Again, tick the correct answer, tell them how many points it's worth. Now Teams has already got, Forms has already gone one step ahead of me and filled it in for me. It's assuming I'm going to do it the same, but if it is a higher answer or higher score one, I could change that. Also in here, one of the lovely things about using Forms is once all the answers are in, this responses section here will populate a load of pie charts and bar graphs for you. And so you'll be able to see a really good snapshot of assessment of learning and assessment for learning. It's great for spotting misconceptions because if there's one which the children didn't get or didn't understand in class, you'll see straight away that only one or two have got it right and you'll know that topic needs to be covered again. The children won't see that, they'll just see the question side of it. So once I finish doing that, I can just close that. That's automatically saved. As I was saying, everything saves automatically. I'll go back into create again now. I'll go to a quiz and I'm going to choose that one with the 1-1-1-1-1-1-1. There it is. Next. That's going to take me to the assignments page we've seen before. It's already taken the title from the quiz. I can put more instructions in. It tells me how many points can be scored. It's already set it up for all students around in class. Again, I can set the date and time for it and I can assign that. That now goes out to the children. Give it a moment. Al's going to get another notification. There we go. Another notification telling him he's got something else to do. View assignment. Again, in the grade section, that's already created something for me. That will tell me he's viewed it. He can click on that to open it up. And here we go. So Al can't see anything else apart from only his own one. He can click on his answers. He can submit the form. He gets instant feedback, which of course children love. He can view the results and see he got it all right. So Al's a happy chappy. You can close that. And again, it does the automatic hand-in, and you've been lucky enough to see a different animation again. Back over to the teacher's side, into my grades, and I can now see and yet another column has already been created for me. There's Al's score. I can also open the work if I want to have a look at it, just to check which answer he got wrong and right individually if I wanted to. I could click in there to put in a comment. Great work again. I can close that and I can return the work to him, and that will now let Al know that I've seen it. Obviously with something like a form, you don't have to necessarily return that to them, but I've just done that so Al can just see whatever I put there for him. If you see activity up there, once again, it tells him I've returned it and he can see my feedback up there as well. Okay, so that is really a whirlwind tour around Teams. I know I've given you a huge amount of information to view, but I will be uploading this one to our YouTube channel, this same one we've seen today, because since I recorded the last one, quite a few things have changed in Teams, and this is a more up-to-date version. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I will hop back over to our meeting. You lot are going to be feeling thoroughly frazzled by now, I expect. But I'll open it up now for questions and answers. So if you do have any questions, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Please feel free to ask away. You can unmute your microphone, or if you want to, you can open up the chat section and pop a question in there. If you would, though, just like to go away and sit down in a dark corner and perhaps have a nice cup of tea and a biscuit, please feel free to press the red button to leave now. Thank you ever so much for coming along today. Really appreciate you taking the time. Best of luck with all of this. And I'm going to go quiet now, and I'm going to stop recording now actually as well. I'm going to go quiet now and wait for your questions or your